Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Order the EPUD Board of Directors meeting June 17, 2025. Roll call.
Dale Olson,
Here.
Kurt Offenbacher,
Here.
Charles Kimball,
Here.
Brian Parker,
Here.
Patty Chapel,
Staff.
Kyle Rubin.
Wendy McKay,
Mark Ramey.
Kelly Strange,
Rob Courier. Doug Barrett. Rob Rutter. And
Ron Davis.
yes.
Max.
Any changes to our agenda timeline?
Nope, we've added just the one item after public comment, so.
No deferred items.
Nope.
Do we have any public?
Don't see anybody online.
Okay. Award presentation to Davis.
Right, you're gonna handle this one, Charles?
I'll do it.
Okay,
That's a lot of things.
that is a big, thick award.
Not good.
Don't stand up. Yes.
Ron, was my privilege to accept this for you in Santa Rosa. Thank you for 26 years of fidelity to this utility.
I really appreciate you doing it.
Thank you for all the work you did in the beginning to help us get going and all the work that you did through the decades. We're better off for it, and it's a privilege to give this to you.
Well, thank you.
It's heavy. Hang on.
Wow. Yeah, I really appreciate, whoever nominated me and all that stuff. It's,
The utility now.
Yeah,
yeah.
well deserved. It's a lifetime achievement award, right? Yeah,
Oh,
it's hard to think of a longer, more effective career in public power than you've had.
well, I really appreciate all you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a team effort, let me tell you. I couldn't have done this by myself.
Yeah,
But working with some amazing people, and they're still here.
that's right. We're gonna keep carrying
Yeah.
forward
Yeah.
what you've built.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
For what it's worth, I told the folks in Santa Rosa that I was gonna keep you up on battery technology.
Good.
You're gonna keep me up.
Keep you up to speed
you
on
informed.
battery technology.
See how the battery technology develops. We'll
Oh,
up to
great,
speed.
yeah, I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes in here.
All right.
Got a package.
Yeah. Why would drop it? Surprised they got it in the door.
Well, I really appreciate what's happened with the utility, because
You want to get a quick picture? Maybe just the three of us or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You better take that black out again, Kyle.
Oh, gosh. We should have.
How about over here in front of the logo, guys?
yeah, that's even better.
Here, you want to
Wait a
hold that up?
crap.
We'll just walk right over here.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably the heaviest award I've ever seen in this industry.
It's heavy.
Right around.
yeah, maybe a little bit
Look
over,
at the-
closer on, and then.
Go get the sandwich wrapper.
Yeah, in there.
Let's just have Ron in it. I don't, Charles, you don't need to be in there. Just
Yeah, you just-
Kurt, he does?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
See what you gotta
Do it.
do.
All right, we'll do a few.
Okay, Ron in the
Just
middle.
do one with Ron.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Cool. Perfect.
Congrats, Ron.
Yeah, well, thank you. Oh, yeah. Down for a year, okay?
In case you didn't kill any cockroaches.
Congrats, Sean.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Good job. You guys are awesome.
Okay. Razors reports.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to put up with me and everybody else here because Sarah's not around. So,
Oh.
yeah, you see, you can stump us.
He's in Hawaii.
That's right.
Who's in Hawaii?
Sarah, who normally does the rundown, so, she did prepare quite a bit in the packet. I don't know if any of those made it into here or no, but, happy to try to answer any questions. We can always come back. We have those. It's it.
I have a question about
How come we're spending so much money on Sharp Mountain for piping? 47,000.
That has to do with a final closure project that's going on out there the county's doing.
I saw all that stuff.
We're
pass through.
We're getting reimbursed for all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. We've made clear that's their cost, and so it was cheaper for us to order the parts rather than them to do it, so we did it, have a separate agreement to have them reimburse us.
I got several questions.
That's
What's the
good.
county now doing about the waste there?
I've got a part in the GM report, I'll go through that, yeah.
Cool.
I see we're doing transformer testing. With is that just substation or are we doing in-house testing for Pacific again?
Who's this?
Annex, or not Anixter, but it was testing, $2,800 for testing.
An oil test?
Yeah.
So we do. So in the past month or so, we've done two different kinds of tests. One's a routine annual testing, and I think that's what that is.
Okay. But we're not doing distribution cans anymore here.
Only on an as needed basis.
Yeah, only as needed.
If
If we have a question for one, once we do the
it
case.
spills in someone's yard.
Yeah, or if it's something that looks like a good transformer, and we just don't have it on a nameplate that's under 2 parts per million. Like, yeah, you know, I'd like to refurbish it. We'll either send it off and they can give us a report, or sometimes we'll do it here.
One more question. We're giving, at the very bottom here of the report. I'm trying to get to
You done, Kyle?
What's that?
Are you done going through the stuff that's already prepped?
Oh, I didn't, yeah, I didn't do it.
I hijacked it.
That's fine.
We're giving a rebate to customers or what is that about?
Is it the generator program?
No, customer refund. There's a whole line.
Oh, okay.
Just bill reconciliation or something?
So what that is when you close your account, and let's say you paid a security deposit and your account's current, we
Okay.
refund you back your deposit. You could be on equal payment plan and have built up a huge credit, so we have a weekly refund process.
Okay, I didn't know what that, I didn't know.
That's what-
There's a handful of those every month.
And you will see them every single month.
Let me just take a swing through what Sarah had on here, so. Item number 2, 108,000 for heat pump water heaters. This was the promotion we ran last month, the free water heater giveaway. We supplemented the cost to get that from what Bonneville gives us to the total price. Our willingness to pay, or the calculation we do that shows how much these are worth to us, is far higher than that, so we're still coming out ahead. We got great adoption out there in this program, so.
Meaning we're saving more energy.
We're saving a lot more energy and demand than we end up accepting.
It cost us over 40,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
700.
it,
Well, yeah, 800 apiece.
Yeah.
You know, times 56 is
Yeah.
like 43,000, something like
yeah.
that.
So we made a decision to kind of try this all at once approach versus, a lighter incentive over the course of a longer period of time. I think it was pretty popular. We got great response on it.
Extremely popular, very good engagements, and we're tracking each and every one of them through the whole process.
To see if they actually save the same amount of power.
Not necessarily through that, like that is,
We should do that.
it's kind of given if it's installed. But we're tracking it through the installation. So like, if somebody could just click to buy, we want to make sure it's going to the right spot and getting installed, and so we've got. It's a high touch program where we're kind of tracking it all the way through the installation.
Would it be possible to look at those customers over the long term, and see how that changes over the long term, whether it made a difference or not? And then, is that?
I'm sure we can, yeah.
Really is.
Yeah. There's a lot of regional research that goes into this area in terms of the measure savings that, some houses are higher than others, but
Everyone differs, but
Yeah.
overall, we might see a trend. That's what
I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
We could probably pull some
That's our job.
sample bills from past projects and just do a little case study on
Another
those.
job for Rob. He doesn't have
Yeah.
to do.
Well, he's got staff.
Yeah,
He just takes it for granted they do the work.
we can definitely talk about it. Measuring energy savings on an individual water heater at the meter is sometimes challenging, because you never know what else is going on. But there's probably some tools that we can throw out there. But you're right, like we rely on a huge regional infrastructure, mostly with Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, that like does a lot of studies to figure out what the savings are and the houses, the types of installs that these are going into.
And Bonneville adjusts what they're willing to pay. According to those studies, we do our own adjustments. It's every couple of years, I think, every rate period that happens.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again next year.
See, okay, well, maybe, like I say.
There's a lot of, it wouldn't be a bad idea to see closer to home how it's
It's
actually.
nice to know
impacting
that we're really
customers.
helping as much as we think, or
Yeah.
maybe more than we think. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll take that as a takeaway here and try to.
Doesn't affect us, but my question is life. You know, your home heat pump, you're supposed to have a service,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do wear out.
Luckily,
So
if you get
I
20
have a
years-
heat pump water heater, it's been fine last summer.
what's the measure life on those, do you know?
12 years.
12 years, what they assume,
For the heat pumps?
you replace it.
I mean, you could, I mean, sometimes they'll probably last longer in some cases, shorter in other cases.
Yeah.
See,
Just I'll finish the list here, if that's okay. Item 34, Richard Hogue, this is an audit we have to do every year for our post-retirement medical eligibility, put that on our financial statements, so. We have to pay somebody to come in and do that for us. The ones I thought you were talking about was 233 through 250, these are the incentives for the generator switch, so. As of June 9th, we were at $47,500 to date on that program. We're capping it at 60,000, just to give a little more headroom here ahead of the wildfire season. And we're looking at whether to just do a hard cap or to reduce the rebate, do, a few more. We'll still allow the general links on our system, we just won't pay them the incentive after this point in time.
Plan to go with a new program next year, or do we know?
Well, it's a good question. We've certainly heard that we want to cap it, so if nothing else, we'll evaluate where that cap should be forward. You guys talk to me more about the program structure or anything like that?
We kind of listed the ideas that we have where they're going to just put a cap on it and say tomorrow is, or put a date on it, tomorrow's done. But I kind of like the idea of reducing the amounts
Like
per customer.
Never 15.
Yeah. Everybody will call us.
And it's just so that we can help more customers, because we've gotten really, really positive feedback on this program.
$1,000 a pop, right?
About 500.
Yeah, for the Generalink device.
Right.
Not everybody is doing those. Some people are still doing like the panel switches.
So what, the 500 changes? I thought it was for a Generalink or a generator.
it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
So it's $500.
It's the same, each one is a switch, right? So it's either one.
It just covers
It's
a
just
fair
the-
portion of the cost if it's a general.
Yeah, exactly.
It's costless.
And I know
So we keep evaluating that. We'll bring in a budget proposal and once they come here, we'll let you know what we think we should do for 2026. Item 273 is a big one, $332,000 for a new digger. This is something we ordered back in October of 22.
Cool.
2.5 years later, here we are.
Too pretty to get dirty.
And that picture is here.
Yes, it's here. So this is replacing a 2007 Holtec. This is a Terex boom, Western Star chassis, I think, right?
I think that was just out next door to where I live.
Yeah,
Cause
Yeah,
I
they've
was
been
looking
using
at I thought, what is that orange thing on the front? And the guy explained to me it's a butterfly, something rather that
right.
rolls up the
why.
cords.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool. I thought, what the hell is that thing?
yeah, we had some work to do to get it in service, but it's been out in the field and they seem to like it.
I don't believe that's the fun, that, I think there also is a cost with the chassis on that, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's the overall boom and body and all that kind of stuff, is that through, they're very expensive.
So they came in and got that pole replaced and nothing flat.
They're pretty nice.
So that was to the 2007.
So we evaluate one of them, some of them, by the time they're at end of life, or really end of life. It's time to move on. The one that we're replacing this with is a big 55-foot, slower than snot, beat up piece of crap. We've had one that's a 97 that we still have out there, and we've kept it as kind of a spare, right? So it just depends on how good or bad they are with the end of life, and this truck number 50 is gonna go bye-bye.
So
So-
auction.
Yeah, auction, so
Yeah.
it goes to .gov, usually is what happens, and then we auction it off.
Use that. Lane County has a surplus auction we'll use sometimes.
We don't get a lot of money for
I saw a place in someplace. When the train went by and it was like 3 acres of those. I mean,
Yeah,
it looks like you probably, if you bought a used part for an Altec or something.
that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah, but it was just this massive graveyard of utility trucks.
Yeah,
Sometimes we'll hold on to the one that we're replacing, we'll hold on to it as a backup. In this particular situation, we won't. And so the next bucket truck that's coming in next year, we will hold on to the one that we're replacing. It's a better one that we have out there.
and the last item we had was 274. That's our semi-annual interest payment on the 2021 bonds.
Would it be possible sometime next winter, when we have time or whenever you get around to it, to see a census of what our rolling stock looks like for age and everything compared to the old days?
Yeah, you bet. I think we had that penciled in for next month, actually, to do a fleet.
Just to see how, whether we're gaining on our
Yeah.
age and stuff or
Yeah.
not, you know, I assume we are.
Yeah, we have a 10-year plan that we're trying to implement.
It has been a while since we brought
It
the.
takes a long time to, believe me, I know all about it.
Yeah, it's just hard to stay ahead of it. We're now, projecting as opposed to having a 10-year plan and just following the plan. You have to, like, as you guys see in your board meetings where you guys are okaying for chassis that are gonna be available 3 years from now.
You gotta think.
Like that truck right there, I think we purchased the chassis years ago, and the PO, I think, went out in 2022.
Yeah, right.
So we,
Perfectly understandable.
so,
Yeah.
that's a very hard thing to do around here.
What was 407?
Yeah, but it's,
Some,
this is a, 328 would have got to the whole thing 5 years ago, but not today. Yeah.
Yeah, big buckets are $500,000.
But we've got a new fleet program that we're using to manage all of this, so I think that's another good item to bring in here and show you how we're doing on our fleet. Every truck now has, details about mileage and service,
All that stuff.
all kinds of stuff, so we could easily roll that into kind of a presentation on the fleet. Those are all the items that we had called out from the staff level.
else, any more questions?
I don't think I have any.
I got the treasurer's supposed to ask that.
Anybody have any questions? Well, Kurt and I are the ex-treasurers, so we just.
Everybody's an ex-treasurer.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have anything either, so.
He is happy.
So,
You're easy on with no Sarah.
We know you had a rough day, so we decided to get our claws out too.
I appreciate it.
so President's report. External organization updates. I know it overlaps with outside meeting reports, so. Did anyone to? Is there a PPC list?
There was, I did not go up for PPC or PNUC. I listened,
My computer died, I couldn't even get
Yeah.
online.
I listened to a portion of it.
Yeah, just, that didn't, I have no idea what's going on.
Nothing super notable, although there was some drama with PNGC. I've got some stuff on the GM report to
Okay.
go through. It's kind of juicy, so I'll let you know.
Okay. Nothing on board training and development. Just if people come up with ideas.
What have you been doing, Dale?
Huh?
What have you been doing to get educated?
Oh, I just read a lot.
What?
Everything.
We can do some more of those.
We need to approve the claims of approval, don't we?
That comes later.
That's
Yeah,
like
we can-
the
Consent agenda, consent.
I cover that in the consent agenda. That's a great question, though.
Well, I've been kind of focusing on Cottage Grove pretty hard, talking to the city council. And your base store is gonna be the Land Electric.
You got another board down there?
No one run against him.
Okay.
Day is,
For Lane, you said? Yeah. He's a good one.
Yeah, Scott's new boss.
Other than that, I try to get to some of these meetings. I was having trouble getting to the meetings because when I accept it, it goes away.
Mm.
It's no longer on my email. I talked to Wendy about that. She could help me out.
You gotta go to your calendar.
Even when you go to the calendar, you can't get back to it.
Oh,
Yeah. If she can put the link on the calendar.
she'll figure it out. One note on OPUDA, the bylaws were supposed to be approved this month. I heard last week they're not gonna be ready in time, so that'll be the July meeting. Danelle and Mark are still working on the details there, so I think we'll discuss it next meeting. It won't be approved until.
I'm dogging that by. No, the WPPA stuff.
No, it's a pretty quiet month for.
So I went,
Yeah, you wanna do it?
attended APPA in New Orleans. The most valuable thing that I learned is don't live there.
Definitely not in June.
I don't know how much. So I attended. I think 4 sessions that, what do they call them? The first one was on the US Energy Outlook, and it was a big shot from TEA. And it was all about, he was their natural gas guy, so it was all about natural gas, so that wasn't, I didn't learn anything, it didn't.
I think back east, that's what everybody's turning to for power. It's
And I went to a federal legislative update, and it's nothing that, nothing surprising there, except everybody's wishy-washy on anything that's gonna happen.
They talk about. Rolling back the CEQ. And
Yeah, on the, well, I heard more from outside of the meetings and just people in those areas that are
Yeah.
affected by coal and gas on what the difference that's gonna make.
Yeah.
You know, on development in their areas, but again, it's all market. If natural gas or coal, if they're not gonna make money, they're not gonna develop, it's all economics, business. The good one I went. Pardon?
Money talks, sentiment walks.
That's,
You know, and I'm jumping in, but the cost of, we were just talking about this digger truck.
Yeah.
You know, the cost of everything in the whole utility industry is going ape shit.
yeah,
And all that's gonna be reflected in everybody's energy bills. There isn't any way around it.
Yeah.
Anything you're gonna build or add or change or fix is gonna cost 4 times what it did 10 years ago. And that's gonna come down to higher bills.
It already is for the IOUs, and we're trying like crazy not to expose our customers to that, but it's gonna have an impact.
You know,
there's no avoiding.
some of the areas though, they have such a mix of natural gas and nuclear and some hydro. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them have this real varied sources. We're kind of,
east of the Mississippi, that's about all there is,
right,
you know?
This Rebecca, I went to the Rebecca Patterson Bridgewater Associates, their investment, but she had some really good, I'll just some quick notes on tariffs. She said, all things will happen. She said, eventually, she doesn't know when, but they'll level out between 10 and 15% over time, she thinks. It might be short, might be long.
That's still pretty high.
It is, but she thinks they're gonna hang in there with that. She said it's this, the general market is the most uncertainty since COVID, which is pretty apparent. Companies very cautious on how to proceed on capital investments. And Canadians and Australians are just angry. She's international, so she
Yeah.
sees everything, and she's never seen that level of anger before. On taxes, she said the US bond buyers are getting nervous because of our US bond ratings dropped a little bit. Let's see. Immigration. She said labor and production creates gross domestic product, and you need both. If you don't have labor, you don't have production. Without, they've got to make that up, the production with technology or some other way. And she said some tasks aren't very, they
Well,
need.
Or some things just become unaffordable, period,
Right,
or unavailable.
so that's just a real Then she had some predictions from 0 to 100% chance. So the first one was 50% chance. She said that's a good one of slow growth, no recession. So she said that's, it can or cannot happen. 45% mild recession or 5% hard landing in a bad recession. So that kind of gives her darts. China, the economy will continue to slow without a change to the consumer mindset on just how they buy stuff. China is attracting their own students back. We've seen that, I think, even locally with the U of O struggles. And overall tilted downside risk in the economy. So little bit negative. I went to one on persuasion power, which it was inspiring agreement and achieving success. That was the best choice of the others. Persuade me. So be nice.
Easier said than done.
You have to be nice and smile, band together to fight your battles. One thing I learned is like EPUD, where your EPUD should, because somebody sees that, they think, more tend to think you might know something than you don't, even if you don't. They
Just
think-
by having the logo.
Yeah, they think you do. So a badge or a logo or anything like that.
That's my strategy.
Yeah, so wear a uniform.
Bill Carhart's in a baseball hat.
Well, if it says EPUD, it'll be fine.
So don't ask for feedback, as you will get criticism. Ask for advice or opinion instead. So don't give me any feedback.
You got it figured out.
Another thing, if you can have someone introduce you to a customer rather than introducing yourself, that means that somebody else thinks you know something.
Yeah.
So these are nothing new in any of this, I don't think. Regarding a proposal, ask what someone likes about it or wants to add to it, not what they don't like. And these are all just ways to communicate. The best one I went to was a practical applications of AI, which I'm sure there's people in this room know a lot more about it than I do. But so it's a utility company, but you have to ease into it like everyone is. First thing is create an AI policy, which,
We've got one in the works.
Okay.
Yeah, at least.
so that, you said that's the policy is important to who has access to it, who doesn't, and how you have access to it, and security.
We're gonna include that in our personnel policy review this year, and yeah, it's interesting, there's language in there around how you represent your work. So is this coming straight from AI, or have you reviewed it? Have you added your own human contribution?
That's the key.
Yeah.
It's says in order, start with efficiency tools, making in-house things more efficient with it. Second is analytical support in-house. And the last is any customer interface. Be very careful. And always have a human.
Yeah.
Part of the.
Yeah,
You have to have human eyes on it to see.
Every single time.
yeah. Well,
You don't, it's not, even, I see that even in-house, you just can't take it for.
Yeah.
That's my vote for it.
For public power, one of our competitive advantages is having that human component and local service here. And so in an AI world, to use that, how do you continue to make that case that we're here locally to serve?
So this is a much, I forget what utility, it's a much bigger utility, but they shifted a IT guy into just AI. Now they have two people and they're just analysts. They don't do any work. They're paying them to sit and figure out best ways to do stuff, so they're big enough where they can absorb that. Some of the things that they have done is load past board minutes. It speeds up search for any subject, like say Short Mountain.
Yeah,
Uh,
so, yeah.
It gathers all of that. It's just scan it or. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but Rob is set up for me, so we're trying this out. We have 2 paid subscriptions now to, it's Copilot, which is ChatGPT behind the scenes, but you can set up what are called agents, which are your own little chatbot that have access to certain internal documents. So for instance, we gave them access to all of our policies and said, learn this, figure out everything there is to know about your policies. And then now you can ask questions. So if I have a question about, what would happen if an employee did this? What would be the ramifications? It'll come back with a very detailed answer and summary from our personnel policy. And it can combine the documents. It's just like having a generalized AI service, but it's specific to
Copilot is Microsoft.
yeah.
So we all have some version of
I think
Copilot.
there's a free version, so you can do a lot with that. The paid version takes off a lot of the handcuffs, so you can do more.
I don't use it.
Is that the 4.0 or 4.5?
I think it's one of the better models that you end up paying
Yeah,
for.
4.5 is perfect.
I lose track of exactly what Microsoft's doing behind the scenes, cause they're using some of ChatGPT's models, but like, it's kind of, I don't remember exactly what model they're using.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it changes.
So how many years ago was it until some legal eagle can use these things to find out all the policies of all the utilities in the world? Figure out which ones are violated and then sue them.
There is an attorney that has admitted to his AI.
Don't kid yourself.
There is.
Well, for all the upside here, there is a lot of downside too. We need to be aware of. That's why you need.
I finished my life.
It's not a bad approach.
So what, no, well, they're using it for data analysis and forecasting. That's pretty.
I'm not gonna shut it off.
They're actually doing off of existing satellite imagery that you can purchase.
Yeah.
He said very reasonably, like the private satellites, they're analyzing their right of way hazards.
Sure.
With the AIs analyzing off the satellite photos and they get a list of
Yeah.
potential hazards, so.
The same thing happens with drones. You'll fly a drone and it'll be able to look at the picture and analyze it. It all happens in real time.
And this individual, has somehow his phone conversations are summarized for him, point by point.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that one,
that's another thing that
to do it, he said,
Yeah, with Copilot, you can have a meeting and it will take the transcript and it will summarize, here's what was talked about, here's who said what, it'll put it in like 6 bullet points. So, there's very useful stuff here that we can tap into, but it's early days and so we gotta be very cautious too.
he said, keep it in the house and keep a human in the loop.
Yeah.
So what was interesting on my way, actually on the train, talked to a fella, he's works at Texas A&M. He's integrating, he said he's an employee and he works integrating AI, helping them learn how to integrate AI into their teaching curriculum.
Yeah.
So he's military guy.
Yeah.
But so he said,
Yeah, education is a really interesting one because you're seeing not just the students use it now, but some of the teachers will grade using AI. So it's like who's actually doing it?
Yeah. Everybody's pretending to do the work. Nobody
Yeah.
is. Nothing to fear here. Just move along.
Yeah, well, the rate of development here is astounding. How far it's come in the last couple of years, and with the predictions on how quickly this is going to move and improve in the future here.
We're doomed.
Well, it's a lot of opportunity, a lot of downside though if it's not managed right. So we'll do our best to kind of have a policy.
More tools that can reach out to more people means anybody who has nefarious reasons has more power to do damage.
Yeah. It's very easy to represent yourself as somebody else or represent your work as somebody else.
You can't leave anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, true that.
so. That's about that.
Sounds like a good meeting.
It was, and it was frustrating because you, like, the first one I picked was
A dud.
yeah, I could
Well,
have went to something else, but they did, I emailed, I didn't know if they recorded these sessions or not, but they did.
Mhm.
I've got copies of all of the sessions now, so if anybody,
You should just probably just put that link on
I
for
could,
everybody.
yeah.
So that
I
way, if
just-
anybody wants to look at anything in particular, they can.
I just got it just this morning, so.
Yeah, you could put that as a board home workspace area.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I asked them if they'd recorded, there was a guy, they set up a little camera, I
Yeah.
thought maybe they'd recorded each one, but that's, because I haven't even looked, I looked
Yeah.
at it yet.
But does that include the slide decks? Is that right?
Yeah, I looked at just one and it's got their.
Well, the rain's better, now I got something to do.
Yeah, rain, yeah, right, so that was great, the convention, we've all been to some, I guess, but, there was an event in the Caesar Dome. On the,
Oh. The Superdome or the Caesar Dome?
well, it's a Caesar Dome now, it was a super.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah. Well, pretty-
So the opening reception thing was. It's a whole football field, I mean, it's concrete floor, but it's a whole thing.
Oh, wow.
So, it wasn't that good, I guess, but, the TEA event was pretty good.
Yeah, well, good, you guys go
Yeah,
to that.
they always.
Yeah.
It was House of the Blues.
The one in New
I was
Orleans.
kind of anxious. New Orleans for the old kind of jazz.
Yeah.
And the new kind isn't anywhere, it's so loud, you got stick paper in your ears. But, so,
You got to Revolution Hall too.
yeah. That was, so,
On your,
the convention at a point, see, we stayed for the rest of the week.
you got a taste of the old New Orleans.
Bourbon Street, I didn't lose anything there, it's real yucky, actually, maybe during a parade, even the parade isn't there. If anybody goes to New Orleans, the World War II Museum is amazing, absolutely, we spent 5 hours and kind of touched the highlights, yeah, so.
Very well.
Just the stuff that's in it. For instance, the original flight log, of the Enola Gay. That dropped the
Right.
atom bomb. How somebody kept a hold of that paper. All those years, just 5 buildings.
Yeah.
Stuff, so that was good, see, they rode a train home for 1,995 miles. Through mostly nothing,
How many days late were you when you got back?
3 hours.
Well, that's pretty good for you. Hell, that's faster than on time.
That's right on time for them, yeah.
It was in the middle of the, they lease from Burlington or
Mhm.
whoever the rail owner is, so some train was.
Did you spring from the fancy room or what did you do?
Roomette,
Yeah,
food is outstanding.
so you didn't spring for the fancy one. Roomette means the little.
It's, no, but you even spring for that.
Oh, I know. It's,
Yeah.
you can fly first class on a plane cheaper.
So, but the food is great.
That's neat.
Steak and shrimp for dinner. Then you go sit some more. So,
Yeah,
um,
it didn't look like you put anything meat on your.
couple pounds.
Looks like you sweated off about 40 pounds, doesn't he?
But anyway, we are so lucky to live here.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
No,
That's a good takeaway.
we stopped in, Alpine, Texas, was at 4,300 feet, it was 103 degrees at 7 at night.
Imagine the old days when they had to cross
Another
that.
place we stopped is 105. So the train is comfortable, 70 degrees, whatever.
Sure.
Step out, the times you get to step off the train.
It's just,
Yeah, so but interesting, saw a lot of country with nothing,
Mhm.
saw them right next to the border fence for a little ways. So it's, yeah, I don't know how. We're just very fortunate.
Once I heard that, this is ancient history, but in New York, LA, San Francisco, and San Diego were more than half the population west of the Mississippi River.
those cities.
But just to think about how empty the West is, without those urban centers, you know?
Yeah.
If you look at a population map of the East Coast versus the West Coast, it's striking, or how little is.
Oh, yeah, I think 80% of the population lives east of the Mississippi, it's really striking.
I like it, I like them over there too.
Yeah.
Well, it's just interesting, you know, the land just doesn't support many people, you know,
Right.
it's just, you know, once you get off the West Coast, you got Denver and you got Salt Lake, that's pretty much,
So,
that's Phoenix, that's about it.
Middle of nowhere, there's a blimp. Seat out there in the middle of nothing in it. And it's on a tether, and it's part of the, I had to look on the,
You just floating out there?
Is it floating in the air?
yeah, I looked on my, I use an app for hiking, it's like. But it's a part of the Border Patrol surveillance.
Oh.
So it's on, it's hooked to it, this white, big blimp looking thing, and they must just brace it up, it's probably got cameras on it or something.
Wow,
Interesting,
sounds like quite a trip.
Yeah.
glad to get home at 8 last night.
Yeah.
I'm glad you went.
So anyway, I don't know, that convention, if it was worth it or not, you pick up a lot of those stuff.
Yeah, I look at APPAs maybe once every 5 years.
That's what I'm not, I have no desire to go.
We've been to two of them now.
Well, yeah, I missed part of the first one, but
Yeah.
yeah, but
It
yeah.
usually
and
comes to the West Coast
the
at least that
next one's
often.
in Boston, and it's I mean, it's good to go to one, cause you get to,
Yeah.
talk to people from completely different perspective of where their power comes from. And so that's good, but other than that, I think NWPPA is more value for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's regional.
It's more regional.
We're familiar with a lot more of those utilities and their people.
Mhm.
You know, it's, we don't have here what the rest of the country's doing power wise. I mean, it's so different than our power mix and the way our.
But it's,
I just
but it drives politics.
It does.
I've noticed several articles in public media recently that are talking a lot about everybody realizing they ain't got enough resources.
Mhm.
Right.
All over the country, not just the west or east or
Yeah.
whatever. Everybody's waking up to this and it'll drive our federal politics.
Yeah, and I see
That part matters.
Oregonians at it again. They ran this big story about how horrible that Trump reversed.
Every one of those articles comes with a slant to it.
Yeah.
It starts from the point of.
I think they're lost cause since even talking to them.
Yeah. It's very hard to commit.
Well, because, they represent AGE people,
Yeah.
so they're always gonna take the IOU position on it.
So I'll make sure and,
Yeah, we can help get that.
to get it to
Access
everybody,
everybody.
cause I haven't even looked at it, I emailed her.
Mhm.
Someplace on the way home, and she just got back to me this
Oh,
morning.
great. Yeah, they're very.
Yeah, they've all been pretty good about that. And WPA's getting better.
Yeah,
Where does APPA get their funding? Do we pay a fee?
Oh,
for
yeah.
that?
We pay,
I don't know what we pay.
It's not our highest, but.
Well, I didn't know if it was funded through NW or.
35,000 a year.
Nah, I think we pay about 25 just to. It's an R&D program.
I didn't get to shake hands with Jerry Rice.
You did?
I did.
Wow.
So he played in the eighties.
Yeah.
He's as old as you
He's
are.
Mr. Buff. I think he could still play it. Who's the lead head of APPA?
Scott Sullivan.
Scott Corwin.
So he told his wife, he said, "If I get to go have a fireside chat with Jerry Rice." And she says, "Oh, the dancer?" Cause she was, Dancing with the Stars or something. Yeah, he was,
probably got some good moves.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
he said it's all on presentation. He used to get teased because he'd go through 2 or 3 uniform pants each game. He had to have everything was new, pants, jersey, shoes. And the other team, he did try 2 or 3 pairs on to see what fit the best.
Sure.
So he said it's all in presentation.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that was entertainment. That's what they're there for. So.
I have some news. The Beavers will be home tomorrow.
I saw that. I was like,
Oh,
water run. Just get your hopes up versus crush them.
Oh.
Oh, well, good season.
Well, even she made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
Rats. Fingers too. It's gonna ruin mine too. They ran out of magic. Happens. Good game.
Okay.
All right, do the jam report here. Let's see, I'm gonna go through a few things, keep it somewhat brief. I sent this out, but just to kind of give you the latest and greatest on Short Mountain. Chad and I met on Friday with county reps. This was their attorney and the two staff that have been working on this with us. I would say, Wagon was also there, which was a step forward. So we've been able to have them come in and present their solution. I think it was very well received. There's excitement about their technology. I think it was very clear why we chose them, that their ability to recover gas far exceeds anybody else that is in this industry. So if nothing else, I think we checked that box, and I'm very hopeful now that we've got everybody aligned that WAGA is the partner to go with here. The county's attorney had not reviewed our proposal yet, which is a little disappointing, but he said this week everybody's out, so he's gonna take the time to get through it, and they'll put their heads together. They asked for a bit of time to review and get back to us, so we will probably give them this week and then reach out again next week to try to get this thing. So I think we're in a good place here. We're all talking. Everybody seems to be in agreement. This is a good project. We just need to kind of get down to brass tacks and figure out what that negotiations.
Should be extension for us.
Yeah, that's the compromise. So
Right.
last for the 5 years. They'll have higher royalty than they have today. Where exactly that lands is kind of in a discussion. I think we're moving forward.
Well, as I had mentioned in a note to you, what's happening at Goshen very much is integral to this whole
I
thing.
agree. Yeah.
And I think that's in the back of their mind as well.
Yeah, that could be some news before we meet again and see where his head's at.
Well, they've appealed to Luba, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my understanding.
So that could be 6 months.
We made it clear that the county is incentivized to put more into the landfill with this deal. The tiered structure that WAGA has is such that the first X million dollars of RNG revenue, I think we only get 10% of that. Beyond that, the second tier is 20% share. But then once you're over a $7 million royalty, we get 50%. So we'll be over that 7 million. So any incremental amount that we put out there is fairly substantial money for both of us to share.
The county will catch on to that 15 years from now, and
Yeah.
they'll get the whole hog after that.
Maybe that's something we'll certainly point out to them. There's all kinds
It's a
of
pretty good
incentives here.
backdoor for them if their plan A blows up.
Yeah, and we try to make that point. We're not assuming that it does, but if it happens that project doesn't get built, we're here to help support.
I think we gotta make it clear that we've given up 5 years of our rights right off the top.
Yeah,
We've only asked for 5 years.
right. Yep. So there'll be a little give and take,
We
but
got Kyle and Chad at a job, I'm sleeping well at night.
I talked to someone fairly familiar with the Uber process. I know our company back 2000 trying to site a gravel pit, and we got turned us down. We could not afford to appeal it to Luba. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney fees, so we just couldn't.
The
do it.
county's
So,
got money to burn.
yeah, well, the county, they just spend more,
So
so.
must be printing in it.
And they don't tend to. I did look up the three member board appointed by the governor. My wife was asking, is it political or not?
Of
yeah,
course it is, everything.
It shouldn't be. They all have to have the Oregon bar attorneys with extensive land use experience. So for their decisions to be way different than the other guy.
Yeah.
It'd be just hard to get there.
Yeah.
That's great.
all right, we'll keep pushing this forward and keeping the loop on it.
Sounds like it's going pretty well.
I think it's going okay.
Yeah.
So what are they doing now? Or
Well, they're still working on their project. They're trying to get that moving forward, but we're talking to them about doing our own renewable natural gas project out here. So I think you were involved with that when we were talking about that previously. But, we're gonna be shutting our plant down in a couple of years. Yeah, southern model. So it's a better financial decision for us.
You did express that we gotta be shutting that down.
Yeah, we'll talk about the timeline and everybody's aware of it, so I think. Moving as quickly as we can to do this now. Okay,
Wagon must really be getting antsy.
they are, and that was good to get them in there. They felt better about that, and now we're all talking. They had their folks from the Miami office online to listen, and their attorney, so. We're kind of seeing what the landscape's gonna be of who the critical folks are.
does they have a private corporation that's gonna do this yet, or?
We identified a partner for us, yeah,
Private
so,
corporations are paying, they expect results.
yeah, so I think it's all lining up, but it's still in flux. Real quick, we went through the vehicle updates already, so I won't really repeat this. We did get the new digger derrick in, long process. I just wanted to call out the big credit to our fleet management folks, starting with Mark and Jason Rice, who's been kind of heading this up the last few years. And then our shop had to kind of do a quick turnaround to get this thing in service too, so. Looks nice and shiny, but a lot of work went into the thing also to get it ready to go, so really good job for those guys. I don't know if this is the latest on this Maruca or not, so I might just have you give the update.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be en route to Denver, Colorado, which will be its next little stop. I'm excited about how thorough they are in this whole process. They were waiting for parts and fittings and all kinds of stuff at the Hookstep yard, and so they've gotten that to the where they're happy with it. And then there's two entities in this company. One's a rental outfit and one's the selling portion of it. The one manager just did not want us to leave it without some sort of string attached. So we got $1 rental fee that we're gonna pay them. I think Kyle's gonna let me approve that. And so
It's refundable.
yeah, so when they have a board vote, yeah. But they stayed still in the on the price, and they're not jacking the price up or anything, so for the trailer. I think this should be good to go, and when we get it back, I wanna take you guys out and look at it. I was thinking about it,
Yeah.
but maybe we'll take it down to In Touch Auto and have it detailed and stuff like that, so it looks nice.
Let's get wrapping on it to get it.
Yeah.
They get service on that.
Powered by hydro power.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's a good machine. It's gonna go to Denver again, and they're gonna do one more. They're a larger shop. They wanna make one more last look, make sure nothing was taken care of. We put in there, we want a new winch line, you name it, so.
I think I got use for that this winter. You need to hurry up, get it here.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
making a list.
We know people.
Yeah.
So here's a hint. Don't get it stuck.
Yeah, you
You know
can,
what?
something, you get some pulling out.
Oh,
Yeah,
they'll see.
That's no joke.
when you get that stuck, it's gonna be bad, and it was obvious, that was one of the things that got to be fixed, they had got it stuck and they did a side pull on it, bent the winch, because there's a winch system that you can put in the front or back depending on how badly you're stuck from front to back, so it's reversible.
All right, we'll let you know when that gets here. It's exciting. Been a long time
It's
coming.
got a cool name too.
Yeah. All right, we all enjoy a little
Got a gun.
drama here with PNGC, so I sent an email about this, but let me just give you the blow by blow, because it's kind of fun. So PNGC, for those of you that aren't quite aware, they're a generation in transmission, a GNT entity that's owned by 25 Northwest Co-op. So locally here, Lane Electric and Platchton, they are both part of this group. And they actually aggregate the Bonneville power bills for those customers. So if you're Lane Electric, you don't have a contract or you don't have a bill from EPA. You get all of that through PNGC as your provider. What PNGC has been asking for in these new contracts is to have Bonneville aggregate their peak demand. So moving forward, demand charges are gonna be expensive and probably grow more so over time. So what PNGC has asked for is to say, we'll take all of our customers, measure where that overall peak is, if you kind of combine them all together, rather than assessing every customer their own individual peak. And that has a lot of benefit if you look at that aggregation. I think in net, the PNGC customers save like $1 million a year or more by having that aggregated demand. So they asked for that in the rate case. Bonneville said no. They said no, individual utilities are responsible for their own peak demand. They said, we appreciate what PNGC does, but you don't replace the impact that these customers are putting onto our system. PNGC didn't like that answer and they appealed to Congress and the Department of Energy. And here comes the taboo, because rather than using the rate case process in the courts, they opened this up to a political process that typically this region does not like to do. Bonneville in the Northwest Power Act has a rate case proceeding called, I think it's a 7I proceeding. It calls for them to have public hearings, litigate things out in the open. And then when all of the testimony's been given and things have been talked about, there's what's called an ex parte process, where you're not supposed to talk to them. They cannot talk to you about rate case things. You're not supposed to talk to them about rate case things. PNGC went around that. And that's what people are very concerned about here. Major Tapu has the entire region in a fuss. I'll give Scott Coe some credit on this. He still got some good material. So he made a comment that was shared at PPC that said, when public power is getting along, everybody's warm and fuzzy. The minute something goes wrong, we turn into the Donner Party. That's kind of what happened here.
Well, in a way, Bonneville has a point because each utility is responsible for shaving their own pee.
Yeah.
If
Well,
they aggregate it, then they have no incentive whatsoever to do it. They just hope somebody else does it so they don't have to.
we all end up paying the cost of it. So that's what the other customers have said.
It aggregates peak cost to everybody.
Yeah.
I know Jessica Matlock a little bit from NWPA.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. It's
I think they got way over their skis here, and they're trying to do damage control, but it's not really working. So the big concern with this is they're taking Bonneville issues to a national level, and it's really drawing a lot of unwanted attention. Not just on rates, but now there's Congress people saying, "Wait a minute, you're signing 20-year contracts? What's that all about? Is that a good idea?" And we're starting to get scrutiny that we haven't had previously. So not a good thing. Here's the fun part. So they actually had to file all these proceedings. So this was the email that was sent to John Hairston. And mind you, this was in a time period where they're not supposed to be talking about this stuff. Yeah, so they said, we're disappointed that the ROD condescendingly refers to PNGC as fiction, or benefits as fiction, paper aggregation. We work very hard to bring real benefits. So that was what caused all of this to really flare up. And she said, we engaged our congressional delegations, and as a result, the attached letter was sent today to Secretary Wright, Secretary of Energy, expressing serious concern about EPA's proposed disaggregation of joint operating entities. That's what they call them. Here's the letter, so signed by 8 different congressmen, including our own Cliff Pence. So PNGC has co-ops in just about every Western state. They got them involved. And so then when this all kind of hit the fan, WAPAG, which is a group of mostly Washington utilities that advocate in Bonneville rate cases, they filed this very inflammatory brief. It says this is a clear attempt to unduly influence the final decision outside the rate case process, creating a shadow docket for the public rate design methodology in the halls of Congress at DOE headquarters.
Wow.
So
Well written.
it's almost to the point where it's like who has the best access is going to win this fight, not who has the better arguments. They also said we're stunned by PNGC's mobilization of the delegation, particularly at this point in time, to circumvent the process for an otherwise unremarkable rate design. We're baffled and embarrassed that PNGC's behest. This arcane rate case issue now involves the congressional delegation of the Secretary of Energy, and PNGC should follow the statute and appeal to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals for a binding legal determination. That's what the law requires and what Congress intended.
This isn't unlike Lake County and their dump when we go to the state legislature to give special rules. It's the same idea.
It's definitely a process end around. Yeah.
I don't think they really serve their clients at the end of the day with this.
And
Yeah.
people wonder why
It
we
hurts
think,
the whole Northwest public
And I
power.
think you're seeing a split develop because of that. A lot of these co-ops are like, this doesn't feel good.
people wonder why we think we've got too many lawyers in the country.
Oh, yeah.
So do they keep a percentage or do they charge utilities more than what they pay?
PNGC, yeah, they have infrastructure, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Leave it on.
They're paying.
That's how they're funded.
They're a for profit.
You're
If you don't
paying,
let me
you're paying.
play, I'm
for
gonna
rate
take
case.
my ball and go home.
Yeah. So then, of course, we had the rebuttal from PNGC. So they file another brief that says, We wouldn't normally acknowledge WAPA's inflammatory and alarmist claims, but since it makes uninformed or erroneous assumptions, the following response is in order. They go on to say, you know, they were mischaracterizing events, not Congress' request to follow the law. That is absurd and dangerous. So where it stands, PPC held a closed hearing last week to try and mediate between the parties. I think this was a Bonneville sponsored thing, but PPC kind of drove it. I have not had any word on what happened there. Did you hear anything? Okay, it was all in private. You couldn't get on. We wanted to like tune in and have popcorn or anything. Wouldn't let us tune in. You had to be part of a rate case. Unfortunately, this is the worst possible time to be at odds as a region. Bonneville's already in crosshairs on staffing, fish and wildlife, etc. So none of this is helpful. It's only going to shine another spotlight.
I think the toughest job in the Northwest would be in the head of on.
Definitely for the salary that you get. That is the hardest job.
Twice the money.
Oh my goodness, yeah. There is some risk that contract signing could be delayed. That was discussed, that if this becomes a big enough issue, we've got congressional folks in there. Bonneville's goal of getting these contracts in place by the end of the year may not be doable. So that has an impact on us.
I think it will be a whole system.
Yeah. Hopefully they can figure this out. PPCs, if you listened to the call last 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, Scott Sims was trying to really walk a line. It was obvious. PPC filed something that said, we don't agree with this, but he's trying to get people to play nice. And boy, I don't know if it's going to work. They seem pretty dug in on the co-op side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of foolish.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to get us to a good place. So unfortunately, you try to throw your weight around like that, you're affecting a lot of other people that aren't.
You don't have that much weight to begin with.
No. Well, their new favorite line is they're Bonneville's biggest customer. They say that in every press release they put out there. Even though Bonneville doesn't see them that way. So you see.
No, they're still, I think, but the sum total of the utilities that they represent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, other people have had the idea of that.
Yeah, there's other examples out there. Idaho's got the Joe that we've been.
So much for Joe's, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they're good on paper, but Bonneville's, I think, really looking out for the rest of the customers, which I applaud them for. We shouldn't have to pay for what is essentially a paper entity. You know, if they're putting costs on the system, they should pay that cost. Anything else on that front? It's pretty good stuff.
It's
Not every PPC is that interesting.
I was lucky enough to see him.
You heard it? Yeah,
Oh,
good.
that was a good one.
All right.
So the current administration's doing away with this, the agreement for what we were.
Yeah.
Is that, what's the short-term effect? Is it
Litigation.
Straight back
Yeah.
to court.
back to court again?
They've already said they're gonna.
Time to judge shop.
So that was our whole thing, and this is again,
American sport is judge shopping.
this is a co-op thing. I can say this because other folks in the industry can't, but the co-ops kind of went cowboy here, and they're like, we're gonna go straight to the Trump administration. We're gonna get this thing canceled. Look how much power we've got. So we've done that, and we'll see. I think it's just gonna lead to more and more litigation. We're gonna be hung up in the Ninth Circuit, just like we have been for years. We had an opportunity, I think, to work within that agreement, however terrible it was, to kind of paralyze it, but not put us back into the.
Right.
We've blown that, so.
Scott Coe had a good line. He says, you know, you catch a fish and the lawyer eats for the day. You list a fish and he eats for a lifetime.
That's pretty good. I don't know if this is ever gonna stop. We've been fighting about this for
It's not.
30 years.
40 maybe, yeah. All I can remember.
We're right back there, and as Charles said, the media portrayal of this is like, we had a solution to save all the fish and now it's gone. And that was really not what was happening, but that's the way they portray it. Just, this came out in clearing up, I wanted to note, Support got hit with another verdict, so these come out from time to time. This was only 44 million, so relative bargain for them. They're up to now 430 million in awards. The total amount outstanding is in the billions of dollars, probably. I think I've seen the number of like 30 billion if every single plaintiff were to be successful.
So they haven't paid a dime.
They've appealed this. They appealed in April, so this will go.
Stop them from just walking out, leaving the keys at the door.
Not much.
I can't be far from them.
Yeah, I think that's why this Senate bill is worth watching. I think it's 926. We saw it debated, we're up there on the Senate floor, passed the Senate. I think it's gonna pass the House, but that's gonna force them to post a bond for all of these outstanding claims before they can actually have any.
This will be like the oil refineries in California. Fine, you do it. We're gone.
I'm sure it's tempting just to say that we're done.
So
I'm sure that public power would be happy to assume that territory all over the
There's
state.
plenty of folks that are away. I think, you know, we're better positioned than co-ops. Co-ops have the same liability, but I think even they would say this is a good thing for us to try to pick up.
so powerful to me, watching that Senate floor, senator from
San Diego.
the San
Yeah.
Diego. That his neighbor, they lost everything and what, 6 have died
Yep.
of age.
Yeah.
And no one's got anything yet.
Yeah, that's a strategy.
Yeah.
Just wait it out.
Didn't they state that they didn't even cause the fire up there?
Yeah, the Department of Forestry published a report 5 years later that said they don't think they were
It seems a
responsible.
little like it opened up a bit of a crack to argue in court.
I think it probably, that's what they're gonna rely on. I don't know ultimately where that shakes out, because a jury found them liable under different evidence, so I don't know. Yeah. Wouldn't want to be them, never would be. Okay, Finance and Rates Committee, just a reminder, we've got these coming up in July and August, so Dale will kick it off July 21st. Kurt on the 29th, Charles on the 30th, Brian will be at the end of August, and we're trying to get yours still scheduled, I think, so.
Right.
It'll be coming up soon. There's anybody not on here?
The location to be determined later, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we'll come out there somewhere, whatever is convenient for everybody. Yeah, we're happy to travel.
Most of our people live out there anyway.
Yep. Reminder on my schedule, I'm out next week in Spokane. I've got the board meeting Monday, Tuesday, and then kind of a unique opportunity. I'll be up with River Partners. They're working with the UCUT, the Upper Columbia, what's it called? Upper Columbia something tribes. Yeah, Unified Tribes, I think.
That'd probably be interesting.
So they're actually trying to work with them. That's what I like about River Partners. They're not just saying no to everything. They're trying to help with these reintroduction efforts above in the Upper Columbia area. So they wanted to come and talk to us, and I'm gonna be in Spokane anyway, so I said, I'll join you.
Probably a fun week.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. Thinking about driving, so.
It's out with your foot down.
Yeah. There you take your call.
That's what you stop at McDonald's and Biggs.
Yeah,
He has to be charged.
well, yeah, we'll see.
I think you have a breakdown of a cousin lives in Moses Lake, you can stop and
Okay.
see him.
I'll try to find it. Yeah, the plane tickets were outrageous, so.
Yeah.
Um,
And you said all day in Seattle.
yeah, it's not that much faster.
15-minute flight was 8 hours in the airport to
Yeah.
wait for the plane.
You sit there all day.
I drove to Coeur d'Alene here.
Did you? Yeah, that's right in that. area.
Yeah.
I'll go do that. I'll hope to make Okuda next Thursday, could be remote, but I'll let you know. Or not. Next workshop is the 1st of July. Got a few topics here. I thought it would be time maybe for an exec session on some of the service territory discussions. We've had a few more things happening there, so I want to kind of get everybody up to speed on what's going on there. Our new joint use employee and his supervisor, Chris Silva and Mark, wanted to do a joint use program update to let you know kind of what we're seeing out there, where that program's headed. The fleet management updates, so you read my mind on that one. We'll get in here to talk about fleet, kind of what the current lineup is, and then how we're managing things today.
Service territory, what does that have to do with?
The city, Cottage Grove.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see,
yep,
I see.
yep,
Okay.
and others, yeah,
Cities. Hey Kyle,
yep,
the fleet might be in pencil, so.
that's fine,
Yep.
yeah, but that was proposed, so.
First on the holiday week, that'll be never been
Yeah.
focused then.
Yeah, so this is, I think there's good stuff to talk about here. If y'all would rather skip a workshop too, I'm not opposed to that, so just let me know, yeah.
We barely keep up every 2 weeks.
And then we'll see if we need more time to talk about the board policy manual. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thanks. Board policy. And the review. Everybody looked at it.
I have,
The hours of the game.
I read a few things here. One of the things that caught my attention is in the reimbursement on number 7. Says meeting per diem allowances is not allowed for local community service, civic meetings such as but not limited to Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, or local parades. And then it goes on to say associated expense reimbursement is allowed for these meetings based on district business needs and remaining board budget or budget funds. What does that mean?
I agree with Dale, I don't understand
None of
that.
that makes any sense.
I think we started that because we had board members that were like putting down things like they went to somebody's funeral. Yeah, where,
somebody in the community.
well, or somebody that had, that had been involved in some sense of with utility, but I mean.
So I agree.
And so like if you go to a parade and stuff, you don't charge for any of that.
Was there any way we could get that cleaned up?
Well, the part about associated expenses is what I didn't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
You can't
if you go to.
get-
you-
yeah, that
you-
doesn't
you-
even-
you-
that
yeah,
doesn't-
I mean, I don't know.
Need to be in.
I would think.
I didn't
It
understand.
must have been some very specific situation in the past.
I would propose because they're just striking that clause.
So now I went to the, it's at number 7 on page 4.
I'll bring it up there.
Under page 15.
I'll bring it
I'll put it up.
on the big board.
Because I went to the Chamber of Commerce Awards and I put it down as reimbursement. We talked to the city council with that and Heather Buck, I mean, it's a.
I think those are valuable events to have the board
I
at.
think that.
Would pay a lot.
That'll need some.
Judge,
I would think that parades, no.
So parades,
But if you're representing it, at a community event,
especially nowadays, right now.
especially anything to do with the cities or local government.
Yeah,
Well, that's kind of official business though,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
I went-
Parade's not,
I've
parade's
been to the
promoting
Tri,
board.
I've been to the Tri-County, fundraiser at Shadow Hills 2 or 3 times anyway, maybe 4. I've never put it down on my time sheet, it's more recreational than anything. I don't know, it didn't occur to me to do it.
I don't,
Yeah, I don't know what.
Like, when I had lunch with Kyle to discuss, like you guys probably all do, I don't put it down either, that's my own choice, I don't care, I don't really know what the policy says. What you guys do, business, not mine, but. I mean, we talk business, but it's not really that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, I mean, everybody, I have no problem with everybody using their best judgment. I don't have, I can approve it, I don't.
I would suggest striking the whole. It doesn't really serve any purpose.
You mean
For game
including the
allowed.
part about not being allowed?
Yeah, just take all of number 7 and get rid of them. I mean, we know you parade, don't count.
Yeah.
Coffee clutches don't count.
15.
So somewhere along the line,
There's a
somebody was putting stuff down, just had to
Well,
change.
that's the problem, and it couldn't reoccur,
Section
that's the
E.
thing.
It's on page 15.
Right at the beginning of
There's a-
15,
There's a numbered.
Item 7, is that what it is?
page 15, number 7,
Number 7.
E7.
E says.
I would-
It's the little things, it's.
I would
E.
keep the first sentence and get rid of the second sentence. That makes it clear, because someday somebody will come along and want to try to count all that stuff. That's what I think anyway.
So you're saying
It's,
no claims on Jacob's Farmers events?
I don't think so.
Know what?
It's not a very common thing anyway.
Well, the only one we went to is the Chamber of Awards.
Yeah, so every year there's this Cottage Grove, Crestwell, Tri-City Chamber dinner.
Crestwell had.
Well, it's like the Tri-County one I've been to,
Yeah.
same thing.
Um,
But going to Cottage Grove to talk to them about what you guys have been doing, that's business, that's a different thing.
Well, we didn't go there to talk specifically for that. We were there for the, it was the chamber, the
the annual
alcohol
dinner, yeah.
annual awards dinner, but we ended up talking, actually, we sat with the city council.
That's a tricky thing, I know,
And that's
be
why
up to the
we-
treasurer to discuss it with the person who wrote it down and then decide whether to allow it or not.
Yeah, I think we're splitting hairs, guys.
Well, yeah, I don't know,
Well, I just brought it
what
up.
do you guys all wanna do?
I don't understand this. Associated expenses reimbursed is allowed for these meetings based on district business needs and any.
That sentence needs to go away.
Yeah, just strike that associated.
Kyle, can you scroll up? There's a.
Yeah.
This board manual has
Yes.
section numbers. Which section is
Oh.
it? Is it 12s?
1240. Sorry
Thank
about that, yeah, 1240.
Yeah, this is different than that.
You wanna read it?
Did you print that?
No, they gave it to me. It was fired on here.
Oh, yeah, so that's been updated.
That's probably not the latest, yeah.
Everybody built their fire list, went over that.
So the options would be strike the first sentence or strike the whole thing.
Strike that gets said.
I would say strike the second.
Strike the second.
Keep the first one.
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No,
So if you have a case where there is a chamber meeting like that you're doing business at, I guess you could always bring it up.
Well, and then whoever does it, if you put it down, you can explain to the treasurer why you did it. I would allow it under those circumstances, but I'm just speaking. to myself.
I'm with you on that. I mean,
That's
it's,
appropriate.
And if the treasurer and if the person involved didn't agree with the treasurer, you bring it to the whole board, they can discuss it. That's how we've always kind of done things.
work for me. I take out that second one.
Alright.
Draws on the line.
It's just not, it's not allowed, and then it is allowed.
Yeah, it's strange language.
Yeah, it's just
Kyle.
somebody's dog needs to go to bed, so I took their dog, tell them what it's like type sheet.
Right, right.
You don't charge for that.
No, I mean, not unless you were awarding or talking to people, I mean, awarding a scholarship or something, yeah, but not just to see the recipients and the total. No, we were awarded. Well, you guys stood up and awarded it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kyle did, I was his moral support next to it.
Kyle
He smiled for the picture.
Kyle didn't get paid that day either.
Right.
I was there. First time.
He wouldn't let me say,
Shadow, you did.
anyway.
Anyway, so that was just one of the things.
That's an easy one.
And I had another. And I don't know if this has to do with policy. There's nothing in our.
You guys always think they're gonna change the world.
Yeah, there's nothing in this board policy that addresses alcohol in our meetings and when we're representing Emerald PUD. Does anyone think that we need to bring that issue up?
I think we should.
Really, you guys wanna be the daddy to everybody?
No.
Well, that's what it sounds
Well,
like.
Patty, I know you have sore
Oh, no, it's not
I
that.
do.
Chad brought up the point that Emerald would be liable if someone was to have an accident when you're under the influence of alcohol.
That's
having
right.
followed from a meeting. And I just think it would be simpler for all concerned if I've been to the Tri-County thing and had a few beers. It was a cash bar. I bought a few beers, no big thing, but it's not necessary and I just don't think I think it makes things complicated. If anything were to happen, Emerald needs to have some reason, say, well, this isn't allowed.
One thing that, I mean, the minimum we should do is if, you're not gonna tell anybody when they can drink, when they can't drink, obviously they're gonna do what they wanna do. But we should offer rights.
Mhm. We are starting.
If not offer the right, but if someone comes in or I come in and say, hey, I got a Uber because I had. Or whatever, I felt like I needed an Uber.
That's a good idea.
That is one thing we're
And
doing.
that's what Chad said too. He says,
Yeah.
as long as, get a ride, get a taxi, get an Uber, get a whatever.
We're doing that at the staff level, actually. For the first time, we're having an M's game event Thursday night. We're gonna offer, there's a voucher you can give out for Uber. They'll come and pick you up, take you home. So that's one thing that we can show. We're trying to limit our liability, right, which is
I can't ever recall having gone to something, had something to drink and then drive. The only time I have a drink at a conference is when it's at a hotel and,
Half the time they serve wine at those dinners.
Right up there. Yeah, the NWPPA and APP, have receptions almost every.
that's gonna be the hard part is where to draw the line
No,
on.
I admit that.
I don't know, I'm not sure you have to draw a line. You need to have all somewhere,
Well, I think,
there's something.
I think the important thing is, we can't, first is how the hell would you enforce any.
Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
What it would have is at least we have a policy. If one of us
Yeah.
That makes
gets in
sense.
a
Yeah.
situation.
Particularly for the rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rights are important.
Well,
That's important.
Their attorney will, well, you guys don't even have a.
right. That's kind of my
Yeah.
point, yeah.
That's my point. is
My wife
that-
doesn't drink, so I don't have.
We can try to work with the attorney out some language.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of
Chill out.
work Dale and the attorney and come up with.
Yeah,
We
and I
need
think
some
whatever we do for the board, we'll do for the staff
Yeah.
side too on the personnel policy, just so it's the same. If it's offering rides or if it's limiting somehow, we'll try to thread the needle there,
Right.
because there are events, I mean, you go to PPC's annual meeting and there's just happy hours, like is
No,
that
you're
the stuff? Where do we draw the line, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's kind of.
Well, we draw it up on the right level, it's fine with me.
Okay.
As long as we get write a policy that's practical and gets followed.
We'll see what the best practices are in this area.
And I
And,
agree.
and Chad
You
had
need a
some
policy of
ideas
some
about
sort.
that.
Cover us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
We'll check with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He had some good ideas on
Okay.
that.
I'll call you, Mark, come get me.
Listen, I got a bottle of my desk right now.
We do,
With a straw.
we do have one alcohol policy that says we cannot drink alcohol here on campus, so that was passed many.
I was here when I drank it on the dock.
Well, we can't put alcohol in our expense accounts either, obviously, you're rightly so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I'd say if we work with Chad and come up with something involved
Okay.
about driving and riding.
We'll work on that, something that can be workable for us and the staff both.
I guess,
Good idea.
that this thing I went to, well, TEA, also an open bar.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were,
I like that.
like, well,
Business meetings have always been like that, they probably always will be.
You get a lot of folks from the south and the east coast.
Right.
Pull through.
There's a winter city council meeting goes on in December, and it used to be an open out party, I mean. The tea companies would put on these open rooms, and people would drink, and they're stumbling around and crap, you know. It's different. Fair enough.
That's all I was,
Bring it here.
that's all I thought.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Good work, Dale.
anybody else have? I went,
I went through it myself.
I don't,
Didn't really see anything.
We gave it a really good dusting up in 2022, and this is just, checking in and everything.
Well, the main thing we look at it with fresh eyes. And,
Yeah.
You know, just what we checked again, and here we are.
so, it's worth the pressure.
We'll get those two done.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
The kid had an Android at
Yeah, I had,
Hey,
Good, we'll bring it back for the July workshop. You can take a look at what we have.
consent agenda.
Wow.
Already?
We're already there.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I should.
This is where the claims get approved, Dale.
Yeah, okay.
In the back.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It passed unanimously. That was good. Okay, item 11. Resolution 2514, authorizing general manager to enter into contract for construction and excavation service.
Yeah, so we've got a big dig coming up here. One of the big takeaways from the ice storm was we need another feeder or two out of our Crestville substation. In the early days of that storm, I don't know how many crews and time spent we had down there, but it was tremendous to try to rebuild from the sub over I-5. That's really the first stage to get anybody back online from that area. So we put a capital plan in place that calls for, is it 1 or 2 feeders that are gonna be underground?
Yep.
So in the future, if that line goes down, we'll kind of be ahead of the game. We can start on actual restoration a lot sooner than we were already.
It'll be million,
Yeah.
it'll be million cable. It's gonna be a very big legacy project. You won't have to.
That's a big permit nightmare
Oh my
going
gosh.
after interstate.
It went back and forth. That's why,
And when the
part of the
airport-
reason why we didn't do it last year. It was ODOT's, yeah, you're good. Then FAA goes, oh, wait a minute, you gotta be, okay, you can be only 60 feet tall with your crane and everything. And like, okay, so we got through that. Then next thing you know, went back to ODOT, hey, can we have our permit? Well, now we got something we wanna ask, so it goes back.
So we're going under the freeway
Yeah.
and skirting down the freeway to Melton, is that the whole project?
So we'll go across I-5 from the substation. And then one of them is gonna go north of the Delcooney, the other one will go south underground,
Oh,
down to meet up with Mel, where we're underbuilt.
yeah.
And then at a later date, we'll have, which will be another phase of the project. So the one that goes south would be phase 2, this is phase 1, and another phase would be another
We're
feeder
completing the
coming
work
out.
around Delcooney.
Yeah, then the other one's around Delcooney.
We looked at that a couple of years ago on one of our field tours.
We went to that substation, yeah.
Yeah, the problem is we got 2 feeder getaways out of the substation, but they're both crossing I-5 on the same set of poles.
We had to
So
put
you
8
lose one
wires.
pole, you lose everything.
Yeah, we had 8 wires we had to put up.
Yeah, that was a mess.
I remember the end of Melton, me and Jerry Lay, we redid that dip. And that whole dip, you got your 3 phases, your loop, was filled with bird shot. We took it apart, it's like, look at this, they're shooting birds, they'd shot,
Jeez.
just filled it up with bird shot. Stuff right in the cave.
2 dips working on the dip.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just had a comment.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those, but so I read through the contract, which I think is pretty simple. The only suggestion I would have, and not on this one, this is past, is your liquidator damages. $100 is less than 1 man hour.
Yeah.
So a contractor, I'm not insinuating these guys really want to do it, but you come down to a time crunch.
Yeah.
$100 is nothing
Yeah,
for the contract.
that's it.
They could extend it out 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
At $100 a day. So you need it.
That's coffee money.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
easy enough to
you
bump up in the
need it.
future. Yeah.
I wouldn't be anywhere even close to less than
Yeah.
1,000 a day or 5,000 a day.
Yeah.
5,000.
We can bump that.
Something that incentivizes that to get done on time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we talked about that, cause they were we kind of were, talking about maybe, if they got in a tight situation, they've got a lot of parts and pieces and rentals and stuff like that, and so we're trying to get them done by September 14th, but, if it gets a little long in the tooth, we're gonna talk about extending it if they need to, and I told them specifically, if I had customer A that had to be online and then I would be holding their feet to the fire, and yes, we would be changing that to a much larger number, but at this point, it's the system reliability issue that's kind of driven by us and nothing real pressing.
So the thing with liquidated damages is they need to be fairly significant to have an impact. If you're gonna have them significant, give them a reasonable time.
yeah,
Otherwise, they'll build that into their bid.
sure, that's a good point, as I'm getting paid.
If it's gonna, if you can't get it done by that
Yeah.
time, and I've done this in the past, you just add your number of days you need, times the penalty.
Yep, we'll look into that, figure out what that
Anyway,
balance
that's
point is.
my only comment.
That's a
It's a really good point. Chad wrote the contract for us. It's a new template that we haven't previously used. In the past, we've just used the bid documents as the contract, and we said, wait a minute, we need a lot more protection. So there's some good stuff in there, but that's a great comment.
Yeah, it
Take
is.
that back.
Thank you.
I move that we approve resolution 2025-14.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Give you progress updates on that one. Watch.
Motion is resolution, says,
Okay, we got 3 of them.
we do these separately, there.
Yeah, 3 different votes. So the first one is what we reviewed last month. The National Incident Management System is kind of the federal government's overlay of an incident response system that we are trying to adopt here for major event procedures. The incident command system is a subset of that. So ICS is a program where you have very defined roles, and sort of from start to finish know who's going to do what, plug in with other public agencies in the area. So we've been working hard on this. Doug has been heading it up for us. We've had UWeb over here, we've had Todd Simmons from Opuda over here. They're both using it and giving us really good counsel on how we can implement it around here. A lot of what we did during the ice storm was just this. It was defining roles, having a command and control structure, doing, daily operational plans. It's just getting a little bit more formal about that and sort of having this with us at all times so we can use it off the shelf. So all this resolution does is put us on record to say that, yep, we're doing it. We're going to go down this road. That's important if we ever ask for additional mutual aid or public assistance funding from the federal government, assuming it's there in the future. They are looking for this more and more to say, have you gone through the proper steps to do a recovery operation the right way? So this will put us on record to be able to say that.
I move we approve resolution number 2025 dash, is that 13, 15? I don't know, right?
It's small.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2025-15. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You.
Aye. Approve. Resolution 25.
Next up is the updates to our wildfire mitigation plan. We've had this since 2022, made a few tweaks here and there. This is very minor. This was just basically updating our customer count and a little bit about our facilities. I think our overhead and underground line miles changed just slightly, but everything else is the same. On a related note, there's some good work going on between all the utilities here locally to get together on terminology. So when we're communicating to the public, we're saying the same things when it comes to what modes our systems are in, what we're doing during the events. So I think Doug and Mark have both been plugged into that, and we're hoping that will provide some additional help to customers.
That makes very extremely good sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all kind of had different terminology and it get confusing sometimes.
Move that we approve resolution 2025-16.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye. I have a question, a brief question, of Doug, maybe Doug, if he's still here. Have any of the other local utilities gone into the automatic breakers, like after what happened with fires? Have they any of them adopted those like we have?
Not to the extent of us, but they are putting them out there. Some of them, especially Lane and Blatchley, some of the areas they serve, communication with those devices is real problematic.
I see.
Plus, we're finding out that some utilities, starting as soon as the fire season is officially set.
Set them on.
So June 15, they
Ultra
put
careful.
their feeders on one shot.
Then every outage becomes a multi-hour,
That's a complicated
That's crazy.
problem.
I think EWEB has certain feeders, they do it all until the fire season is officially shut
I
off.
think we saw that first fire, all the utilities shut off and we stayed on. Well, back.
Well,
2022, yeah.
well, the companion to that's having the trees trimmed, so you're in
Yep.
better shape to begin.
It
with.
really depends on your right of ways.
Clearly, that don't happen overnight, no matter how much they would throw money at it.
Yeah.
By the way, the crew was taking out trimming some big trees on Highway 99 north of Junction the other day.
Yeah, Possum Flats area.
Some a-holes had the traffic stop. Hey, look, it's us.
You're good guys.
Well, I tell you, that's not an easy thing to work out there with that traffic going by the thousands and stuff. I'll tell you what, that's a hard day's work for those
It's
guys.
part of one of the most dangerous parts of your job. You don't realize.
It really is.
Setting up the sign.
I'd be scared to death to be on foot around there, you know?
Yeah.
You can't look all directions every minute.
Well, a few years, like, 2 years back, we had, setting up a sign to go change the transformer out on, it was at 99.
36.
It's like guys, two of our tree crew guys were setting up, the signs, just got started and some guy come up 36, just. I think we figured he hit us at about 60 miles an hour,
Rear-ended.
but completely rear-ended our truck and.
They weren't around, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys dove in the ditch.
What's so scary is if you're flagging at 2 o'clock in the morning on Highway 99,
The drum.
every one of them pulls up a drum.
Of course they do.
When you stop and you go to the car, everyone's drunk. The other guy's passed out in the back seat. It's crazy.
We have several farm fields that go on county roads that front onto Highway 99. And like this next weekend, on Monday morning, you'll go out and around the edge of the fields, you'll find all kinds of booze bottles, everything from beer, wine, liquor. Because everybody's drinking like fish on the county roads and they unload the empties before they get on the state highway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is.
After the fourth weekend, it takes a whole pickup load of crack to pick it up.
The worst I saw was in front of us.
It's terrible.
It was bizarre. I couldn't believe it.
I think after about 8 or 9 o'clock at night on a weekend, you just assume every car's got somebody under the influence of
Yeah.
something driving it.
Yeah.
Best to stay off the roads.
It really is. Nothing good happens after
No.
midnight.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry about
We got
that.
one more.
Resolution 25-7, releasing funding.
The long saga of our community solar project here, so we have come to the end of the road. We've talked about this ad nauseum, tried multiple locations, the maintenance issue, the battery issue, having to replace it after 8 years, just not workable. So we've tried to write this in a way that makes those points. We have a letter that was included that we would plan to send over to Odo as well, and just close this chapter.
So yes, gets rid of it.
Yes is a vote to release the funds back to the Department of Energy or not.
I know it. Fire department.
Okay,
I apologize. I didn't have time to read the
no,
letter.
you're right.
I should have. done that.
Is the letter gets like that yet? I didn't get that.
Yeah, it was in there.
Well, the way the
okay.
letter ended is that I think it was very brief but clear
Yeah.
that it just doesn't make sense for us.
We kind of turned it, it's no longer aligned with our strategic priorities. And there are lower costs of energy. in our
That's
source.
too polite.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, it's not like, we don't have to keep working.
Yeah, it'd be nice to, if in the future we have to do anything with them, but we're trying to also make a point.
I know I'm a broken record about this. This is my wrong, battery thing. It's his deal. This is my deal. The problem with this, to my mind, is this is designed to make the public think this is all a practical solution. And the fact of the matter is, the costs are worse.
Yeah.
And the public doesn't realize that. And if we do this, it just makes it look like, hey, let's do this. It's a great thing, And it's just not.
Yeah.
Called enabling.
It's the numbers, the $900,000 expense that's gonna create $24,000 or so a year worth of electricity at retail rates. And the battery cost alone is gonna cost more than it's gonna generate.
Yeah.
Let alone maintenance and everything.
25% of the total.
Yeah, it's just completely off the charts. You didn't know better. You'd think layman thought
Big
this
big
all
thing
out.
for me is we're setting future e-putters up for a liability down the road, right? It's it's maintenance.
There's no way it makes sense. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing with these grants, they'll fund it up front, but there's always more.
I passed someplace of southwest. A solar installation, which there are very few.
Yeah.
Out in the desert. But the one I did pass, there was, it looked kind of old, but there were some of these big panels that were all broken off. It didn't look very good, so I think it was working out real well.
There was not far out of Houston, Texas a few years ago. It wasn't even 18 months and the hail just destroyed.
I saw that.
It is ugly.
It's
It
gone.
is ugly, yeah.
Okay, I move that we approve resolution number 2025-17.
Fair enough.
Wait a minute.
Come on, I can't forget that.
Sorry.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we will communicate that back. Thank you. Thanks for working through that.
Review of motions.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda that was unanimously approved. Motion to approve resolution 2025-14, authorizing the general manager to enter into a contract for construction and excavation services, unanimously approved. A motion to approve resolution 2025-15, adopting the National Incident Management System, that was unanimously approved. A motion to approve resolution 2025-16, adopting updates to the district's wildfire mitigation plan, unanimously approved. And a motion to approve resolution 2025-17, releasing funds awarded through the Oregon Department of Energy's Community Renewable Energy Grant Program, unanimously approved.
There you go.
Thank you.
That was a quick meeting.
Fire at Good River,
Everyone, once in a while, that's not too bad.
or I mean, the Dalles.
Yeah,
Was that a firebug started one or is it?
Northern Wasco is dealing with a lot of their.
Yeah. It's big,
Big fire up in the Dalles.
Dalles.
I wonder if there's the same firebug we had up there a few years ago with all those.
Yeah, oh, maybe.
They said it was human caused.
Yeah.
They've already determined.
They always say that, but you never hear any more follow back ever.
Except for those kids that burned up the gorge.
We're inspecting.
They got them, but they didn't get it.
Any public comment that's relative to our meeting?
I have a question. Does anybody know anything about the proposal to tax electric cars by the miles?
Yeah, that's, as far as I know, that's part of the transportation package just being pushed through.
I thought they were just gonna raise the registration rate for it to cover it.
I think it's a whole host of fee increases.
Oh shit, they're getting everybody right with a sack of concrete, or I'm thinking,
I think there was a per mile charge as part of the latest version though.
$200 a
I
year.
don't know how you're gonna
license your
assess
car.
that. You have to send your odometer reading out.
What a great state this used to be.
For gas in Louisiana and Texas was $2.67 a gallon. So
That was
we're,
in New Orleans?
yeah, all through the south, it's like $2.67 to $2.75 everywhere.
Something.
Well, they're pretty close to the refineries, they have Orleans too.
Wait till this California refinery thing hits and they start moving our gas right on down I-5 faster, so they can sell it for $2 more a gallon.
Yeah.
Suggestions for future meetings?
Let's have some.
Yes, I think we should.
Can do. That's what we're good at.
I don't know.
Upcoming meetings, Opuda, June 26th, July 1st.
Is there anything happening with Cottage Grove, maybe looking at the coming up public enemy?
There are conversations happening, yeah. We're continuing to talk about it, so hope to keep making progress there.
I have a concluding comment. Something I forgot to mention, APPA, Barbara Trout was there to accept an award
Yeah.
for Pelham PD, well, for her. And, but then there was this whole list of awards. We need the $2 horn more. Some of the awards were pretty lame.
We used to do.
Who choose our word?
We used to do those. We won the Scattergood Award in 2017,
I remember that.
2018. The best utility in the country. Back then, so I don't know. I think you just have to write a good application. I don't know if they're.
Yeah, that's a lot, that's frankly the same for NWP.
Right.
They're looking for folks to give things away to.
I missed what I think it was for her though.
Okay,
Barbara does a ton of stuff in the community.
yeah,
I think it was a community service,
yeah, that's good.
anyway, that was pretty cool to see her get an award.
How did they do on the day of giving down there? You didn't hear anything that
And they didn't even comment on, I mean.
really,
they
cause I know she
usually-
did that.
You know, like
Yeah.
a couple of years ago in Seattle, they showed what people did, they didn't, there was nothing.
Nothing.
They had the day of giving.
Profile, yeah.
Indeed.
Okay.
Smoky.
Good to see you, Ron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
See you around.
Congratulations. Thanks again, everybody for coming in.
thank you, and you guys keep on doing what
Thanks,
you do,
Rob,
man.
for fixing.
Great, thank you.
Pretty easy.
No.